if you're here, if anyone knock, is anyone there? A couple of minutes early, we might as well talk nonsense because we're already talking nonsense. So we might as well talk nonsense with you in the loop. Good evening to Ian and good morning to Bruce. What's new? Well, I know what's new. Susan sent you another letter. Congratulations on your second, if cheap, silver button.
Silverish button.
Silverish, yes.
Faux silver. Wrapped in aluminum foil.
Yeah, you used to see a lot of videos people make it. Well, I'll tell you why they didn't give you the previous one you had now, because people cut them in half and stuff like that. People were going to blow them up.
I saw that. A gentleman cut them in half and did a metallurgic thing on what was in it, and it was cheaper, basically, wasn't it, in the new ones?
Yeah, good evening, Macvision and UAV Shed. Let me try and remember to put the comments up here as they go. So if you haven't seen it, Bruce is moaning. He does everything he can to demonetize the video. I've said the word demonetize early, so I'm sure I've now managed to demonetize this video because as creators, we all just earn a fortune for all the work that's put in. Now, to talk about some things. Actually, normally before we start, I say, Bruce, did you? I might as well just ask you on air. Did you see anything that's really caught your eye this week?
What? No.
No, fair enough.
As I said, just the anti-drone stuff they've installed at Heathrow to deal with the revolution people, environment revolutionaries or whatever they are. Yeah, it's really impressive. You should watch it.
Yeah. And we know that if they're really clever, they'll be flying systems that none of those systems can pick up. If it's it's a fantastic opportunity if the world's put all their fancy systems there to go, hey, look, we can use this. And they still won't see us.
You haven't watched the video yet, have you?
I haven't, no.
Go and watch it.
Oh, well,
Sure.
We will. Well, what did they say? They've got Ords, haven't they? They've got Ords and they've got
Iron Dome.
Did they really buy Iron Dome in?
I'm sure they must have.
Which video did you see? Because Iron Dome were the clever people that managed to say they were there last time and they weren't.
This is the Israeli one.
Yes.
The miniguns and all that stuff. Yeah, it'll shoot down those drones.
They're not saying they're going there again, are they?
Well, but the protesters. That one, I'm saying they should put the Iron Dome thing in there.
Oh, they should
get rid of them once and forever. Get rid of them. Just
Well,
it's a weird one, isn't it? Because if you look at it, the protesters have said they're going to fly within the FRZ, which is in the exclusion zone. They're going to fly. I saw a report that them actively saying they're going to fly no higher than 5 meters and then call the police on themselves. Now, obviously, they have to prepare for the worst case scenario when people are doing something a bit more silly. But it's going to be interesting to see if they fly at 4.5 kilometers, which is within the FRZ, at 5 meters, what sort of reaction is going to be? Because at the end of the day, not 6 months ago, we were allowed to fly within 1 kilometer. So technically, yes, it's against the law, but it's not necessarily any more dangerous than it was before. So it's going to be interesting to see how the media handles this. I suspect the drone industry is going to get quite a kicking again, unfortunately. They won't focus on the fact that it is idiots using it as a tool. They'll focus on the fact that it's a drone.
If the police had their heads screwed on, they just go along there and they just watch. Because until someone's actually endangering somebody, there's no reason for them to act. And the problem is that all these regulations are too prescriptive. I mean, everywhere you go, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can't. Just say, don't endanger personal property. Non-prescriptive, but it covers everything. There are no loopholes in that. And if you do injure someone or you damage their property, you have no defense because you've breached the non-prescriptive regulations. It's like sub 250 in Canada. I mean, that's perfect. That's what they should do everywhere. As I've said, my 2 drone rules. If you do that, then there's no room for wiggle, and it covers it. And of course, one of the problems that regulators are facing is that the regulations are now so complex. Who can remember them? You've got to sit an exam to actually prove that you know them. But who can't remember, don't endanger people or property? I mean, if you can't remember that, then you're probably spoon-fed in a retirement home and you're not flying drones. So that's what they've got to do. Simplify, place the responsibility onto the person. And then when someone does endanger personal property, hit them with a big clue stick and lock them up for 6 years, and that'll fix it.
Big glue stick. Well, it's we talked about it last week, but again this week, even more people are getting angry about the introduction of the system in the UK, and they're saying, "Oh no, well it's okay. It's not. The Queen hasn't signed it into being. We've got to wait for Brexit to finish. The moon's got to be over here, and the tide's got to be out, and the werewolves have got to be on the moors again." It's happening, kids. It's happening. You missed your vote. There's no jumping up and down. We'll stop it now.
No. And it's interesting because they're saying BFMA, BMF. I never get the two the right way round, whichever way it is today for me. They're still saying that they're still talking to them. They're not still talking to them to get anything changed. This is happening. This is in place. This is done and dusted. At the end of the year, you will have the 31st of October. Is it 31st of October?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it coincides with another date that's going on. It's law. It's happening. They'll have to register. And it is. I've been watching all of the groups all week, and they're bouncing up and down about this. And you're just going, where you been? We've been talking about this for 2 years. Banging on about this for 2 years. You know.
And to a degree that people are right in saying that, well, it's such a small group, are they going to pay attention? Which is kind of right. But I think if they'd started earlier and really made a hard noise, a louder noise, more responses to the request for information, all that sort of thing, I think it could have had a little bit more sway. And at least people should start getting angry with Amazon and all the people that want to sell Iron Dome or whatever other counter UAS system, or their whichever UTM that want to get into the country, that are just peddling fear to politicians. That's what I think is happening.
Well, have you seen BT have got in on the act now? BT have announced their own counter drone solution as well. Now, I thought BT had got out of all of this nonsense, because I remember in the 90s and the 2000s when BT got into everything from set-top boxes, TVs, the lot. Yeah, today BT have announced that they're going in to launch an anti-drone solution as well.
Is that
there's an interesting thing with this whole thing. If I was in the UK, I'd be saying, give us a copy of your risk assessment. You cannot solve a problem unless you know the scope and the depth of the problem. If you haven't done a risk assessment, then you haven't actually defined what you're trying to do, because you'll be putting resources into the wrong areas unless you know where the real risks are. And the video I'm working on for the Australian rules, it's the same thing. There's no risk assessment been done by CASA, because the Australian regulation or the Australian government says that we are not going to reinvent the wheel. We're an acceptable risk assessment has been done in another country. We will just copy their rules. So they're copying rules, but again, they're copying rules from countries that don't have a risk assessment. So they can't claim, oh, we are operating in line with our directives, which is to use the risk assessments by other countries, because nobody has done a risk assessment. And you wouldn't regulate anything anywhere else in the world without first establishing the scope and the size of the risk. There's no, so what's happening is regulators are effectively just shooting randomly into the sky without even identifying what their target is. They know the objectives, but they don't know the scale and the magnitude of the risk. So I think we need to go right back to basics and say, you need to justify to us that the regulations and the restrictions you're imposing are justified by the risk. Please show us the risk assessment. And if they can't show you a risk assessment, say, I'm sorry, but until you can actually do your job properly, we're not complying with these ad hoc, random, unsupported rules.
But didn't CASA, like the CAA in England, actually say to the parliamentary sort of side of things, well, actually, we're quite happy with how things are, and we don't really want change? I think we do have to be a bit careful, sort of berating aviation authorities, because as far as I'm concerned, pretty well everywhere they've all been quite reasonable, and the politicians have got involved.
Yeah, that's that. So we need to throw it back at the politicians and say, you made these rules where regulation should be based on risk assessments and risk assessments done by other countries, and you're breaking your own guidelines for the creation of regulation. You cannot be hypocritical in this. If you don't follow your own rules, why should we follow your rules when you come up with them?
I think it's fair. Yeah, in the CAA UK, the CAA I think have been, to be fair, and we should be fair to the CAA, they have been very balanced overall. Especially in my dealings with them, when I've spoke to them at various organisations, they've been open to everything commercial operators have had to say. It's interesting when you look at all of the government consultations that happened in the UK. There's very much this feeling of I must save my constituents. And that's what this is about. But my constituents are worried about people spying on them in their garden. And the reality is MPs have driven this forward massively. And just last week, you had a bunch of commercial operators go to see some MPs in the UK. And it's just shocking. Absolutely shocking.
They may have, I think what we need to get at there is they may have been representing their particular interests very well.
Yes.
not everybody else. Yeah, it was trying. Hey Tom, how you doing, Tom?
We need to go back and throw it back at these politicians and say, why do you need drone regulations to protect people's privacy? You already have privacy regulations that do that quite nicely. You have a lot of regulations that already exist to cover everything that you're trying to regulate under the drone rules. It is illegal to endanger aviation in every country in the world. So why do we need drone rules? Because it's already a crime to endanger an aircraft or an aircraft system in any way, shape or form. That includes throwing stones and sticks at them. So what you're doing is you're doubling up on regulation. And in the process, you're depriving people of the freedoms they've enjoyed for many years without causing any deaths. And people are just sitting back too much. And you really need to be pushing right up front and demanding that these, when I say regulators, I mean the politicians who are driving the regulations. They're ultimately creating the regulations by proxy through the CASA and the CAA and so forth. So I'm talking mainly politicians. We need to force them to justify what they're doing because, hey, they can't just operate ad hoc and without responsibility. They have to show that they're doing things in line with their own proven standards and protocols, and that what they're doing is just and fair. And if they can't do that, then the public just has to say, right, okay, we're not going to follow your rules. I'm sorry, civil disobedience. Until you have a rule set that actually has a risk assessment and has a proper respect for people's rights and freedoms, then your rules do not apply to us. I mean, that's what I'm going to do if they do that here.
Yeah, also by drones saying I'm going to pronounce the name of that airfield wrong, Oamaru. I did see that article from New Zealand of the flight instructor that they grounded the fleet whilst drones reported in the sky were flying. So what's the insider scoop on that, Bruce? Come on, you must know.
Well, if that's the case, what if someone sees a bird? Bird strikes are proven. $400 million a year in damage. They are a proven risk. There is no proven risk from drones. So why are you grounding or stopping activities in the airport for 15 minutes because you've seen something that has never injured anybody, will never caused any deaths and caused virtually no damage to aircraft? Yet you can see a pelican or an albatross or a hawk and you don't give a damn. I mean, I'm sorry, but we have, again, risk assessment. Where's the risk assessment? There's no risk assessment that justifies that kind of action. So people are taking stupid responses to very low risk situations. And because 200 feet, I don't know how far it was from the airfield, but I don't think it was right up against the boundary. 200 feet of altitude, an aircraft shouldn't be down at 200 feet unless they're pretty close to the damn threshold of an airfield anyway. And one of the initiatives in New Zealand is to have this whole, we've got a 4-kilometre exclusion zone, including out to the sides of an airfield. If you're out to the side of an airfield, you're in the circuit. If you're in the circuit, you're 1,500 feet. So why can you not fly a drone up to 400 feet in that area? That makes no sense at all. So we're pushing hard to get that reviewed. As it has been, they've changed the shape of the exclusion zones in the UK and everything to reflect that. New Zealand is still, way back behind the times there. So again, if there were risk assessments done, these things wouldn't be a problem because people would say, well, that's not risky. We'll allow that. There's no reason to unnecessarily restrict people's freedoms and rights just because you've read a newspaper that says a drone's going to bring down an airliner. That is stupid. That's not professional rulemaking.
Yeah, but I think this week in some other ways we are reaching a few tipping points. Osby Drones saying ADSB on all birds. He's probably been following me arguing with a fellow. I've given up. What's that adage about arguing with people on the internet? I can't remember what it is now. That's what I got dragged in.
It should only be on ducks. Should only put ADSB on ducks because then you know where to send the bill.
Oh yeah. Oh dear, yeah. Should we have a moment of silence for that? I think that's probably.
See, I keep arguing about
several years
ADSB.
ago, didn't it?
I got to stop arguing about ADSB on Twitter because I'm still quite bitter and twisted about ADSB because I still don't think it's a solution to a problem. But
No, it's not. It's not. And there's no we can have in. That's easy. It costs buttons and we can get out of the way. That's good enough. And manned aircraft should have it because it makes them behave better, and that is the truth. They stay up higher, and all those other good things because they know they're being tracked. But
this is interesting. I've just read this article with BT, and they've partnered with Drone Shield. So BT are basically providing planning, design, installation, and support, but it's Drone Shield technology. So BT have clearly seen there's somewhere they can make some money.
Well, that's the whole 5G run, isn't it? We've got to have lots of things to bolt onto this expensive Chinese system. So let's try and.
People thought BT would be in an affiliate scheme with dropshipping. That's amazing.
yeah. It's crazy. Tom's saying Hex will be shipping with ADSB as standard. That's right.
Yeah,
and that's ADSB in, of course.
This week, I believe they're shipping this week. I haven't actually looked yet, but Philip tweeted on Twitter. He responded to me on Twitter and said this week because I want to try and get one in to have a look at myself. So yeah, they should be available this week. I'm not against having it. My concern is everyone's blowing this up, and I don't mean Philip Cube. They're not, but I think certain aspects are going. ADSB is going to solve all our problems, and it isn't at all.
No.
It's, I mean, have you seen the situation in the USA? Before you fly ad, which is supposed to tell you where you can and can't fly, but it's got a disclaimer saying, this information may be wrong. Check your local regulations first. So what's the damn point in having an app that gives you information you can't rely on? I mean, you can look at the app and say, oh, I can fly here. And then you can still get prosecuted because there may be something that the app didn't know about. And so it doesn't absolve you from the responsibility which you have anyway of finding out for yourself, is there a special reason why I can't fly here? So it's worse than useless because it gives people a false sense of confidence. And I think the same thing would happen with ADSB. Pilots might go, oh, we don't have to give a damn. All these things have got ADSB on them. And if you get one that has a malfunctioning ADSB or something like that, and it's just, we don't want to place too much reliance on technology. It has to be a good culture of safety and the right attitude and common sense. That's what you've got to do.
No, ding, 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 ding. Common sense. No. Failed. Yeah. Failed. No, not in this industry, UAS industry, never, not allowed. VC funding, renderings, yes. Common sense, no.
No.
No. So I'll mention, so it's interesting that BT's doing that and other, that's the fear mongering, isn't it, at the end of the day? I did want to mention Silent Arrow that's being produced in the UK, and that is Tom's here. That is RG Pilot on board, and that's a great big glider. Chip Yates' thing. Now, Chip is going to come on and talk to us again. He'll talk to us about Silent Arrow, but he's at the show where they announced the production in the UK of it today, probably drinking now. And of course, I want to actually prod him more about that aircraft of his and how his manned electric speed records are going, because I think there's been a few more developments there. So that's quite interesting. And that's where I wanted to take that was that's quite a grown-up product, really. And there's been a few grown-up products this week in the news. BP, they did a clever thing with their headline, proclaiming a 195 kilometer long inspection run, which when you actually unpack it is the same thing going round and round and round for 90 minutes. But, so, it was quite clever. But it was on an oil rig. It was detecting methane, and the idea is that they'll launch them from a long way away. And it was satellite comms, and it was all sorts of other things. So I thought that was very,
is that beyond visual line of smell?
Yeah. Well, no, it was within the smell, but the smell was being sent back. So that was.
Did you see that Google are now going to be operating in Brisbane in Australia with their drone deliveries? And they've got special quieter drones with slower spinning propellers, so they won't annoy the neighbours so much.
Well, that was the requirement of CASA, wasn't it, for them to have another go, was to get the things quieter. So that's very interesting that they've managed it, and that could have. I mean, that could be if you nail that and pattern that properly, that could be a real money spinner for them, couldn't it?
Well,
Pun
we could
intended.
talk
Those
to
propellers. Oh yeah. Well, they
The
might not
challenge here
just
in New Zealand, one of our sort of technology incubators issued a challenge, and one of the with drones, one of them was to make a very quiet drone, and somebody won that, and that they used bigger propellers turning more slowly. Innovative breakthrough. There was other things like being able to track objects and so forth. So yeah, it's noise is an issue, but it's a fairly easily addressed issue, and I think obviously Google have done that. But I mean, the fact is that now that like a virus, they're spreading through Australia, and pretty soon there'll be Google drones everywhere, and all. That's probably why we've got the politicians and CASA working so hard to exclude people from this airspace. I mean, this is because CASA has had the biggest change in regulation of any country in the world, the biggest change of any. They went from the best to just about the worst.
Yeah.
And it happened almost overnight. Is it coincidental that Google are just spreading through the country with their drone deliveries? I don't think it is.
No, yeah, of course it's a coincidence, you flipping conspiracy theorist, you.
Of
course it is.
Susan will tell me.
Susan, yeah. That's right, you're in great terms with Susan. But she'll say, well, hang on, we're just the videos. Yeah, sadly, I think you're right. And Amazon's the people behind that in the UK with their much vaunted 1 gajillion jobs paying £1 gajillion a minute. And of course, they've I don't think Amazon have even managed to fly outside of, it was 800 feet or something, their first delivery. I don't think they've gone beyond that yet, have they? Yeah, but yet they wield such power, don't they? And I also know, what was that figure we had on that slide last week? Was it $12 or $14 an hour?
Yeah,
it was $12.
Can't wait for them to start delivering by drone in London, and there'll be headlines: "Drone stabbed to death in London street."
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was watching a news report today about minimum wage or living below the poverty line in America, and that was $12.50. So on that slide we had, that $12 is below their deemed poverty line. What's Andy saying there? How can one pattern the bleeding obvious long, slow propellers? Oh, you can pattern anything, Andy, even if it's got prior art of hundreds of years old. You can suddenly imagine it's new.
And the beauty of the patent system is that it's just a license to sue. So ultimately, the person with the biggest checkbook wins the patent disputes.
Yeah, they're terrible things, aren't they? And now that is one thing Amazon have been dreadful at doing, is patenting everything. You know, extra long dog leads or whatever. And they've patented loads of stuff that we've seen before. Loads and loads of stuff.
So something very interesting has just landed, and this is something I've been keeping an eye on. And this is
that's not the person that hit the hotel in London last weekend, is it?
It isn't. It is the proposed standard for the remote ID in EU, and it has been submitted today.
Oh, yes.
It's just landed in my inbox. Now I'm trying to download it. It's going to be called ASTM WK65041.
Yeah, that's working group 65041. Yeah.
Yeah, and today they have submitted the standard for approval. Now I'm trying to find it. However, they're looking like they're going to be using Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to transmit the message. And then the device will look up the actual data of the drone via the internet. Now that is interesting, because that would imply that your data is going to be available to everyone. That's very interesting. They're saying you would identify the drone via the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and they're saying Bluetooth 5 will allow up to 1 kilometer range. However, the identification info would be pulled offline via the app.
So that sounds awfully like a system, a proposed ASTM WK66500, did you say?
Yeah, give me a second. Let me share with you a link, Gap. 2 seconds. This just landed in my inbox.
Sounds awfully like what an American UTM was proposing. Awfully. And the same people, funny enough, have bought into a silicon, a radio manufacturer.
Yeah,
a LoRa radio manufacturer.
Okay. See, this is interesting. The drone can also be identified if it's connected to the internet over a cellular link through its operator. New drones can come automatically outfitted with the new system, such as electronic license plates. Old drones could be retrofitted with ID chips that would plug into their USB port and might cost $7 to $10.
This is, I know what this is. I know what this is. This is some people that would also like you to pay €12 per flight.
Remote ID systems are key to the development of UAS traffic management systems, UTMs. It's very much pushing that way, isn't it? It's very much drone ID is going to be all rolled into UTM.
Yeah, this is that lot. This is that lot. And it's saying not necessary for US operating with approval using ADS-B, Mode S, and Mode C transponders. Well, there's not many of those.
No.
Patrick and I were on one of the first ASTM things, but we bailed when they started asking people $75 for a copy of each thing they proposed. And I'm not sure ASTM have actually got any single one of their standards through yet. So it'll be draft under development. Yeah. Yes, so that's the American remote ID standard you're looking at there.
That's the American, is it? Right, okay.
Yeah, that's the American one.
Yes.
I think the European one's going to be nice flashing lights, I hope, still, like the Morse code, the French one. Or smoking a Gaulois or something like that.
I still love that Ford patent. I still think that's one of the most innovative things I've seen in a long time. Long time.
Yeah, I think the main thing is it's ASTM and they never get anything through.
And what's the range of Bluetooth these days? I mean, like if you've got a drone and it's 400 meters away and you're trying to identify it, Bluetooth isn't going to cut it. Wi-Fi might. But again, I'd make sure that I was running a 2.4 gigahertz analog video transmitter on my drone. What are they going to do then?
Yeah. And well, exactly. I'm putting a link in the general comments there. And Louis, right, this is the Intel. I don't think it's quite the Intel one. I think it's the AirMap one. But it's definitely been kicking around for a while.
Yeah,
it's definitely kicking around for a while. This one.
So why does that come up as today then? That's interesting, isn't it?
No, because it's on ballot 9th of September. That's what's yesterday, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Bluetooth 5 range is much longer, says Tom. Yeah, it is. It's all just something we don't need. It's just somebody that's not needed. Google Wing and Amazon will for the standard, and that's your trouble. That loops us all the way back around to what the conspiracy theorist on the other side of me said there about Google's operations in Australia. If they do get now, because of course Google's got an UTM as well. I've been talking UTMs for Rwanda for the Lake Victoria Challenge, which is going to be happening a long way from Lake Victoria next time. But already, what's it a lot? The Zip Line have their own UTM, so you've got to be able to liaise with them and things like that. So it starts getting difficult almost instantly if each different outfit has a different UTM. Non-repudiation. How do you say it, Gary? Non-repudiation. I can see they've learnt from ADS-B. So yeah.
Sorry, I thought that was the EU one. It just popped in my inbox. I've been trying to keep an eye out for the EU one because we're not far off. That has to be in place by January next year. I think it is. So we've still not seen a standard for that one at all.
Yeah. I'm not. It's how many generations of ARPAs are we going to be when it all gets resolved? We're not talking about next year's machine. We're talking about the year afters or whatever.
Yeah, 2022. Everyone has to be compliant by. So, no, 2022. Our existing craft will no longer be compliant. And that means they're in that middle category. They've created this category It comes in from 2020, but 2022 is that time where existing craft run out. So the question mark will be what happens when we hit 2022. Really, they've given this middle ground a minute that you can use all your existing craft until 2022, but there is a hard stop in 2022 that there's no future option for. So you would hope craft from starting early next year onwards would be compliant. Otherwise, they could potentially have a short lifespan. That's the problem.
Yeah. And Andy, you're absolutely right. Laura would be better at long range. There's plenty of systems out there that are low cost and have better ways into UTMs and all that sort of thing. Because if you're doing that, that might as well be in UTM. You might as well go all the way. Because if it's just the ID, then did it say now? I've clicked it away. Did it say it was going to give the position as well?
Well, what they're saying in this is for the US, it was all of the information would come over the internet, that's what's concerning me. What info is coming over the internet? So are they suggesting then that you will register your drone with the FAA or whoever they register it with in the US, and then your phone will pick it up via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and then it'll go online and go, that's James Taylor's drone. That's James Taylor. That's him.
Excuse me a second. Car alarm's going off. I may or may not be back. If I'm not back, call the authority.
Gary's about to get done over in.
I hope he's got those flamethrowers outside of his car. They're all the rage in South Africa, aren't they?
If we see someone come through with a balaclava, just shout.
Yeah.
But yeah, the question mark is how much information of the pilot are they going to be sharing? Because again, my overall concern with all of this is I don't want people turning up where I am when I'm flying, because I'm a pilot. I'm responsible for ensuring that aircraft is safe. And if I start getting an audience, then that's the concern, isn't it?
You'd assume that there would be a secure login to a site that provided that information through the app. So it wouldn't be something that anyone could log into and get the data. Just appointed law enforcement officers would be able to get that data.
You would hope, yes.
Until the hackers get hold of it.
Yes, and that's the next question, until all the data gets spilt on the internet. And actually, that's going to be interesting with all of these systems, especially when we come to third-party UTMs, because once all this data starts getting shared out, who then is going to take responsibility for a mass data leak? That's the next question, because it will happen. The more this information is seeded or available, the more chance there is of an issue happening, isn't it?
And there's still no word about spoofing, is there? What happens if you spoof someone's ID? I mean, you can incriminate people who are not even related to the operation, and that's the big weakness. You can basically, what is it? What do they do when you can dox people through their drones? Yeah,
that's the whole problem with all of these systems. It's going to open up doors for people. If you want to fly criminally, you just fake your ID. You can fake ADSB. You can fake all of these things. The police can't find a car now that's got a fake number plate. They just don't bother. They just go to the actual number plate's house and go, can't be him. Okay, that's it. Over.
Exactly happened to my father. He appeared to be driving around in Scotland when he was down in Somerset. It's exactly what happened to him. Yeah, cloned plates, and the Rozzers arrived at his house. Hang on a minute. Which was, it wasn't like they were arriving at a place that was just down the road. It was miles away from where the incident was happening. So there must have been something wrong. Anyway, so Osboy Drone, I'm just catching up with his comments. It was interesting that the further data will be there, and I can't remember if I said that, Andy. Yes, it was better. It's impossible the bandwidth will be clogged with relevant noise from hobbyists, so they'll eventually drop the requirements. Well, maybe, yeah. It's all stuff we don't need at the end of the day. We still, we outnumber.
When are they going to start registering bicycles and scooters? That's what I want to know, because they're the bigger risk.
And I see that they're saying that they will cut journey times by 70% in most UK towns if they allowed electric scooters. So bring on the electric scooters.
I don't quite get why they got banned in the UK. I sort of missed that whole thing. What was the initial reason for the banning? Because they're not allowed on pavements and they're not allowed on roads, are they? And that's where the issue is, as I understand it.
no, that's just going to hover.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a free-for-all in New Zealand. People have been killed already, and I think in other places in the world. I mean, they can be quite dangerous. Little tiny wheels, big potholes. You know what the UK roads are like. Imagine that. You'd disappear right into the whole pothole. They'd never see you again. And if it was raining, just an oily film on the top where you went in. So it's like maybe that was the reason, safety. They'll ban it. And that's the thing that regulators have. If they can't control it, they just ban it. It's so simple, problem solved, move along, next please.
And I think with the change in regulations in the UK, the registration, the more worrying thing is the increased police powers. It's not the silly test, which is nonsense questions. It is nonsense questions. It's the increased police powers. And people are missing that. They're getting angry about £16.50 and about the test, but they're not realising that the ROSers will be able to, even if they suspect you've got one in your car and it's going to get used. I think he's got a drone in his car. We can pull. Yep. It's another reason to pull a car, and so on and so forth, and enter your house. Search your house as well. That's just pretty big powers, isn't it? Just
for having a drone, the police will be able to enter my home and go through everything, and then go, hold on a minute, you're a commercial operator. Oh, and you're registered, but we're going to come in anyway, and we're going to kick we're going to see every drone. We're going to look at everything, and then we're going to go, okay, go away. You're okay.
By the way, I like the colour of your wife's panties. Well, I've gone through all the drawers.
Oh, yeah. Anyway,
didn't realise you could see I was wearing them then. So.
Yeah. It's how it is. Yeah. I want an e-bike as well, Andy. You're right. Strange things afoot in the world all around.
And that's as you say, that's the issue here. It's the police powers around. Number one, having the power to force me to land, and I still take as a pilot, I am the last authority, not the police. Yet they can force you into landing, even if you deem it's not safe. So that's compromising you and your safety as a pilot, because at the end of the day, you're the person who is responsible. Now, the question mark will be then, if something happens when they force you to land, does the responsibility shift to them at that point?
I'd just hand in the transmitter and say, you are now the pilot in command. Thank you very much. And then only take a few instances of that where someone got hurt, and I think they would change that rule pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, because, and that's the scary thing. And then the second thing, as you say, is they will have the right to kick our doors in and go through our stuff and go, oh, yeah, you got drones. I don't know what I did or any of us have done to warrant this level of enforcement for something that's never hurt anyone, never killed anyone, caused mass problems other than the alleged issues around Gatwick.
That's why we need to say no risk assessment, no compliance.
Well, but then you get no BMFA insurance, you get no FPV UK insurance, so you get no insurance. And
so like in New Zealand, a lot of people fly without insurance, and it's not because what is the chance of causing damage anyway? Where is the risk? The risk is very low. So do you need insurance? Yeah, you might bang into someone's car. Okay, it might be £1,000 or something, $1,000. Pay for that out of your pocket. But I would say fly low risk. So you're not going to be a risk of it hurting anyone or endanger any property. You just say, right, I'm sorry, but no risk assessment, no compliance, because there is no risk. And if that's correct, you won't need to call on your insurance. And there's only so many spare prison cells. They can't lock the entire drone flying population up. And at some stage, they've got to stand back and go, this isn't working. What do we need to do?
I think it's an interesting prospect with insurance, because people are still saying that hasn't been determined. Personally, I don't see how you can be insured if you're not legal. That's a fundamental of all insurance policies I've ever had. You must be compliant with all relevant laws. So at that point, all BMFA members have to comply, or they won't be insured.
Is that way for car insurance too? If you're like an intersection, you fail to yield right away and you have a crash, does your insurance not cover the damages?
I think if you were to be proven negligent, no.
Yeah, they certainly try every way not to pay. That's for sure. That's really a universal truth, isn't it? I bet that's an international truth.
If you're it's the same as a car tire. If you have a car tire that was 1 mil below the limit, regardless of if that was the cause of the accident, your insurance would be void. They wouldn't pay out. I've had a number of car accidents over the year where the vehicle's been written off, and the whole vehicle gets inspected at that point from safety point of view before they'll pay out. With regards to the insurance, you're going to have it. The only other question I would add is how actual relevant that insurance is. It'd be interesting to know how many they actually pay out that are not involved on their own sites. We all join these places with the assumption this insurance is going to cover us, but as with all of these things, they're going to be looking for ways to ensure that you've been compliant with the law in every way. I don't know. Do they publish all of their accidents? They must publish them, Gary, mustn't they? Yeah. I wonder how many.
Here in New Zealand, it's only, I think, like $1,000 a year or something in terms of claims on average. It's a very, very small amount when you consider there's 2,200 people in the National Model Flying Body covered by the insurance. It is an extremely small level of claim because it is such a low risk occupation. I would carry my own insurance. I mean, I would say, right, that's it. I'm not going to be in a position where I'm going to be causing damage to any property or to any person. So why would I pay money out to an organisation that's going to give me a raincoat on a sunny day and take it back when it rains?
I'm just adding in anyone know off the top of the head 20 meters a second? That's about 40 knots, I think, isn't it? Quick question, because NQIS Steve is saying about delivery drones and speeds in the comments here. I think as a rough rule of thumb, I just double it, and also by doing that, I get rid of Louis and Bruce in one foul swoop. Hey, Louis, how are you doing, mate?
Hi, guys. Sorry, I couldn't resist seeing.
Yeah, it's blankety blank, isn't it? Or whatever that thing is. Yeah. So you reckon that was the Intel ID scheme, Louis?
Come on, every dog and its owner is trying to get a foot in the business. So just develop a system, throw it in the arena and see if it sticks. We are just throwing stuff to the wall and see whatever it sticks. Unless someone that has market clout and comes up with a system, I don't see regulators anywhere in the world coming up with a out of the blue system. And besides, like Bruce would say, why do we need that remote ID? Because cars don't broadcast their location. Cars have license plates. You go over Europe, and some countries, it is mandatory to have a fireproof ID tag on your drone, permanently attached. I can say that at the company we have drones that have several license plates attached. They cannot be removed.
Don't forget now that actually there's A&R systems right across the UK, probably all through Europe as well. So cars are effectively broadcasting their location through the A&R system.
They are.
Yeah, cars now, I believe it's from 2020, new cars also have to have that driver's assistance that Americans also had for the OnStar system. So cars in Europe are going to be mandated to have that thing. We're all falling to the inevitable. So one of these days you won't, the steering wheel will be optional. You won't need a steering wheel on your car. And the same with drones. You won't need anything on the drone.
Steering wheel.
No.
Because that's obviously where I've been going wrong.
No, nothing goes wrong. You just have to have faith on the technology. Come on. Yeah. If I see one of Bruce's videos, like one of the latest ones, not the YouTube plates, Bruce is managing to destroy our trust on Chinese manufactured goods. So,
Yes, that's right. Yeah, old Jonah, old camera Jonah over there.
well, which leads me. Okay, just got myself a new toy. So back to the origins, and I got myself one of those tiny helicopters to play around. So as Bruce didn't do his homework that I asked him to get me the good Bruce's advice on a small drone, I went back to the origins and got myself one of those small, very small helicopters. Come on,
And
Bruce.
you
Now
enjoy
I need an FPV camera that runs on 1S battery.
There's plenty of those around. Is it a coaxial or is it a cyclic or a collector?
No. Full helicopter. No. Okay, it's toy size, but it's not toy type drone.
That'll
Helicopter.
tear the curtains up.
Yeah. Yep.
Straight to the nub of the difficult stuff. They'll cause domestic issues.
So now I just need Bruce's advice on a 3.1S camera. Come on, Bruce, that's not so hard. At least they don't burn so spectacularly like the ones you are burning.
I'll do my research for you, Lou. I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, which brown one did you get? I've looked at a couple of those recently as well.
There's what brought my attention was the cost, the price of the new one that Horizon Hobby just relaunched, the MCP-X2, and I saw the price, went online and found a Chinese knockoff for a quarter of the price. So if I'm going to break it, at least I break 25% of the cost.
Did it come with spare blades and all that sort of thing?
Oh, spare blades, spare batteries, spare main gears. So it's lots of spares to do. It's in the end, it's all breakable. So
and binds with the standard radio, does it?
No, because I have one of those crazy modules that are multi-protocol, so I'm okay with whatever you throw it its way. So you just plug, you know what it is, those multi-protocol modules that you just select what kind of protocol you want and
away you go. NQRS Steve talking again about the speeds. It's something about that. Wind speeds delivery drones are definitely, for sure that's an issue. Perhaps that's why they're currently quite popular in equatorial regions where it's not very windy most of the time. There certainly is an issue. I did my silly little video flying around in Rwanda, where the next competition is going to be, and I have more admiration for Zipline now because it's bumpy old territory, so they do very well not to hit stuff there. It's very impressive. But remember, they can't deliver you anything. You can't ring them up like all these delivery drone companies are suggesting and have it delivered to your garden. They can only deliver to their surveyed spots. But even that's, impressive.
I believe we already spoke about this. I would really would like to know what's the cost per mile or per kilometer of each delivery. Even today, I have the DHL motorcycle guy coming here and to pick up a few things. And I don't know if it's cheaper, easier. I really don't know.
I can't see it making any sense in a decent metropolitan area, decent city, because you'll have loads of other ways of making it happen. They'll be cheaper. If you're going across...
Because you're going to have the guy riding the moped with the little box on the back, probably getting about $18 an hour, and the guy flying the delivery drones only gets 12.
12, exactly. That's right, exactly.
Yeah, but exactly. What's the cost of each of those delivery drones versus a cost of a moped?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely no. There's definitely I can't see how it'll have a purpose in the centre of London. Maybe medical or any big city. Maybe medical stuff where it's got to be quick. I can get that, but if you can spare another 10 minutes for the delivery, then the moped will still get through with the lad being paid blow all money. Rolling auto delivery robot. I completely agree, Steve. And rain, yeah, they're not going to be good in rain or wind. Delivery missiles.
What they need a version of Elon Musk's, what's that big Hyperloop thing he's got? Need a
No,
version
it's
of
a
that.
tunnel.
You could
The
put the
tunnel.
food in a little plastic thing, put it in a pipe, and it would pneumatically go around and cheer your table. You know,
That sounds
they have
awfully
those
like
sorts
something
of-
we had in the supermarket when we were
Yeah.
putting the
Yeah.
cash in. It sounds awfully like that. Yes.
It's so where are they going to leave the parcel when you got a note on the door? Is the drone going to read the note I've written on the door that says I'm in the workshop? Is
It'd be the
that's
same as Amazon now. They just throw it over the fence.
just it'll drop it down my chimney.
Yeah, that's
Well,
Merry Christmas.
I believe there's a patent held on that delivery method. I don't believe, and Bruce has it. I don't believe you can use that. And Andy's saying e-bike 0.005 per mile and 1,000 miles per gallon equivalent or greater. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But in Lesotho, in Rwanda, in Mozambique, in places where there are no roads, so even the motorbike gets hard, you know. And then when rainy season comes, so there are niche
Oh,
cases.
come on, Gary.
They eat a lot of pizzas there, though.
You're being naive. On those places, we'll have those new Land Rover Defenders,
Have
full
you
of.
seen that? Have you seen that new one that was it?
Oh my God! It's so ugly. Oh my
I
God!
haven't seen it.
Oh my God! Don't.
Come on.
I'll have to have a look.
It's-
New Land Rover
oh,
Defender.
Feminine Land Rover.
85
It's-
computers.
What have they done to that?
85 computers. Talk about things getting smashed. Just put Bruce near it, and all those 85 computers.
85. What do they mean? Do they mean 85 sensors, or do they mean 85 computers?
It's the typical. You just get a small MCU on the headlights that controls the headlights and does all the things, and it's an ECU, electronic control unit. So they count all of those, and then you have the CAN buzz all around the car that throws orders to those. That's the.
So it'll be even reliable than the current one.
Yeah, well, they've had huge issues with their CAN bus and all their vehicles for years. Land Rover have. They've always had problems. At one point, when the new Discovery came out, they were actually taking them back in and twisting the gears up a bit more just to make them work properly.
Were they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a discovery. I had a discovery that I turned back, sent back to the dealership and got myself on a range because the Discovery had so many electrical problems that I could count with both fingers of my hands the number of times I got outside the car, unable to get in because I would force open the key to open the door, and the door would automatically close. So it was a matter of trying to get the door open and twisting the key. Come on, 85. It's going.
It's like Tesla. Do you see Tesla? People were locked out of their cars for quite a while because the network they used through the smartphone to open the car doors went down. So people use their smartphone as a key, and it wasn't working. So unless they had the actual physical key on them, they were locked out until the network came back up.
Yeah, but this is completely bonkers, and it's the thing that we try to solve. And I'm guilty of that. We try to solve everything with more technology, and sometimes we don't do one step back and look at the problem in a different perspective. Like the remote ID, we are going nuts with remote ID, electronic conspicuity. Bluetooth 5, Wi-Fi, blinking lights. Come on, let's. Some General Aviation has sorted that problem ages ago. They have big letters painted on the fuselage. I know that small drones don't have much to paint the damn letters, but something has to be done that is easier than those crazy schemes that
Yeah.
every.
Instead of giving the enforcement people a smartphone and an app, give them some binoculars.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm guilty because I like technology. I'm a fan of technology, but sometimes I think that's just pleasing all the Silicon Valley guys is a mistake.
But I think we're at the end of that, aren't we? I think that's been noticed that the Silicon Valley hyping up the market is gone.
Yeah.
I've seen there's been 2 instances of agricultural companies tying in more closely with. Oh, excuse me again. If I don't come back, call the authorities.
That's with the new technology in his car. You notice that since they put all these new keyless entry things, it's so much easier to steal luxury cars these days than it was.
Yeah. I saw a video. And apparently in UK, the guys are professionals.
They are. They've worked out a receiver, basically a relay unit, which they stand by the door. So as long it relays the signal from there to the car, and then you have 2 people, and they literally walk up to the door with just like a repeater, repeats the signal, unlocks the car, they get in, hit the start button, and drive off.
Yeah, and apparently they did that with one Tesla car, and the next day Tesla issued an update on the firmware that stopped that.
Yeah, BMW had it.
All the while, BMW has been having issues left and right because they don't have over-the-air updates. So if you're going to put technology, put it in a smart way. And Tesla, granted, has been doing it in a smart way.
Yeah, to be fair, funny enough, my new car, I ordered it with keyless start, but I took off the keyless entry intentionally. I had to have it removed as an accessory on build because I didn't want that feature at all. I'm quite happy with keyless start, but not keyless entry. It's just too dodgy, as you say. They're very clever in the UK. Our thieves are a higher class of thief than we get in most countries. And people were getting up in the morning to wonder where their 80-grand BMW's gone, with no sight, no sound, not even a bit of glass on the floor. And it was a guy.
Keep your keys in the microwave. Just take them out before you make your coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, how hard is it to do like this to a car key? Come on, guys. Do we need keyless motor start? Do we need that? Or is it just another gimmick?
Even the new Honda Cub, the Honda Cub, that the world's most popular motorbike, is keyless, which blows my mind that they've bothered putting technology into one of the simplest, easiest things ever. They've got it. It's got to be much, much harder or to fix and to look after now, hasn't it? Bring me back the one from 1960.
The most thing is, as someone who often wears his cap backwards, how do you fob a car when you walk alongside it? This plastic's too soft.
I had to think what that meant there for a second. What's he talking about? Yes, I'm not down with kids.
Try to buy a stupid television which is not 4K and doesn't have smart TV on it.
Hang on a minute.
Do we buy?
This is as old Cod just moaning about the modern world.
No. How hard?
It worked like this.
No. How hard is it to do a stupid damn television? I don't want the manufacturer to put smart in it. I just want a good screen. Period. And
I like those radios where you just press the button and the rudder change. Bang, 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 bang. I mean, that's the sort of thing we need, really. Bring them back.
No, it's not being curmudgeon or old-fashioned. It's just a matter of, okay, I understand the manufacturers try to make things different from each other, but at what cost?
Well, good design is taking stuff away, isn't it? Until the thing works. You don't add, you take away.
It's like that old story, which I believe is fake, that when they started the space race and they had astronauts in space, the Americans spent millions of dollars developing a ballpoint pen that would write in the zero gravity environment, and the Russians just used a pencil.
No, it's a wax crayon, because pencil leaves graphite.
China graph, yeah.
It's the stupid thing with technology. We are on the drone side. We've reached the point that yes, most of the drones can be autonomous, fully autonomous, unless something weird happens, and that's where we have to improve, is the reliability of the system. So we have to make sure that the system doesn't have strange behaviors, or that its sensors are reliable and give good readings. So we have to invest more on good sensors. But all the smarts are there. Yes, we can improve that. Yes, we can make the systems aware. For instance, at ArduPilot, we are doing now on the flight controller SLAM, kind of SLAM. So we are doing path planning and collision avoidance and stay out zones and stay in zones and all that. Yes, that is an improvement. Yes, that will make life easier for a bunch of people, but we still need a lot of sensors, and those good sensors are still not affordable for the common hobbyist, but
they will be soon. They will be soon. It won't be long.
Is that the secret information from your neighbors that produce LiDARs, Gary?
Well, no. Yes, some of that's true. Yeah, no, yes. Well, yes, there is some, maybe, but no. I mean, no. The way of these things, it won't be long. 5-6 years, and they'll be there.
And do the money guys want to wait 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, it soon comes round, doesn't it? But speaking to that, Black Swift Technologies this week are classifying images at altitude to detect landing areas in their Black Swift S2, enabling a US to autonomously identify a safe landing area in the event of a catastrophe, which is, on the fly landing site selection. That's pretty cool. That'll be everywhere before long. Rather than
identifying safe landing areas for what? Manned planes?
No, fixed wing drone. It's Black Swift S2. So allows it to fly BV loss, as they say, and always look for somewhere to land. That's a perfect job for a companion computer, isn't it?
Why? What's wrong with VTOLs?
Well, I mean,
part of the mission planning would be to identify sufficient safe places to land along the route that, given your altitude and your speed and your glide ratio, you could reach those from any point of failure along the route. That would be a strategy. It'd be a safety plan. You have to do
you
that.
You can do that. You can do that already with rally points. You can do that with rally points and do land start, especially if Tom's still here, because that's all his gig. You can do that already. But you better not have something.
What's wrong? What's wrong with the VTOL? You haven't told me, because the VTOL can land on the spot, so you don't need such a big area to land the VTOL.
No, but you'd still need to. You'd still don't need to identify perhaps that area wasn't a tree or a bridge or a child or a nursery school.
We all know that trees are magnetic and attract planes, especially from us. I'm proof of that. I'm proof that I have scientific evidence that the trees on my flying field are all of the magnetic type that attracts foamies. So
I've often thought that the companion computer just doing size, shape, slope, and surface the whole time would be a good idea.
Yes, you can also go for image recognition, pattern recognition, and for that you will need companion computer, because computing power from the flight controllers, from current flight generation of flight controllers, is not there yet.
You guys got to do it wrong. You got to plan for success, not for failure.
True. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, you're not wrong in that sort of equation, but the stuff happens. No, I thought that was. I thought, well, obviously, that was not as impressive.
Bruce,
as I thought
Bruce,
then.
the day you have to do a SORA assessment, then you'll know what is to plan for failure. And I can tell you, it's not even remotely close of what we are discussing. And the situations are so ridiculous that you'll have rants. I'll send you one SORA, and you'll have rants for 2 years at least. 'Cause
Well, I
But
was starting talking about
coming
it
up-
silver badges, wasn't it?
coming up to computing power, for instance, you got a Raspberry Pi 4, which is a monster of performance, considering the size, of course, and we get quite good results. So the thing is, we are still missing the good and reliable sensors to attach to our computing platforms. The software is 97-98% there. The reliability of the systems is not.
But consider
Not only, sorry, Gary, not only the DIY and the amateur hobbyist grade, even at professional grades, unless you go to the crazy expensive systems for the tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but within a reasonable cost, the sensors are not there yet. We still have a long way to go, or manufacturers have a long way to go to give us, because, guys, don't forget, we are using surplus sensors from smartphones. That's what we are using.
Yeah. Well, but we've come quite. I think we've come quite a long way. I mean, Andy's saying he thinks that progress has been excruciatingly slow. I don't think so. It's rushing along. I think perhaps what hinders progress, if anything, isn't sensors. It's fiddling around with silly projects that we don't need. that's what could be slowing progress a little bit. Yeah.
Which is it true that they're interfacing ArduPilot to Pornhub, or is that just a rumor?
What?
That would be a way to make a lot of money. That would be the route to money.
Yeah.
We are open. We are open to have one of those plates of YouTuber of the month or YouTuber of the day, like you got, and so we can give us some revenue, and so we could hire some full-time developers. That would be some good way to go. Don't forget, 99.9% of the work, for instance, on ArduPilot is on a volunteer basis. There are sometimes companies that want something done on top of ArduPilot. They'll pay for the development, and that will come back to ArduPilot. That's the beauty of ArduPilot regarding versus other flight stacks.
It's still come a long way. Now look, it's after midnight, and I've got to go and fight with. I think I've got to go and fight with a porcupine. I think that's what's rustling around outside. It's smacking the side of the car every once in a while.
Don't you have remote ID on the porcupine? How do you know it's a porcupine? How do you know it's a porcupine? You don't have remote ID on the porcupine.
Because of the noise they make when they go past the side of the house. The sort of like it's like a hedgehog. He's keying the house. It's your fault. Yeah, that's your fault. That is. Yeah, no, it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a brush. Yeah, it's like a brush. It is. It's like a brush going past a big broom. So I think that's what it is. So I've got to go and scare it out the gate. So, but before I do that, what other any other news caught anyone's eyes?
I saw one. Unique have released a new version of their Mantis, their tiny little drone called the Mantis G, and that's now PX4 based by the look of it. The original one wasn't. Obviously, they moved to PX4 when they introduced the H520, I believe it was, but they're now saying their Mantis G is PX4 based as well. That's something I spotted this week. It was released into drone on the 3rd of September.
Oh yes, that's right. There's been into drone, hasn't there? That's it. Yes.
Very little has come out of that. To be fair, very little.
Do you know, a lot more has come out of this DSEI show in London, defense and whatever it is. I'm quite surprised actually that, yeah, there seems to have been a tip, and including from American. Oh, I've got to put a press release from Air Environment in, including from American manufacturers as well. So that's interesting that a lot of companies seem to be retreating back into that military space again, to the safety of the military, who've got endless money to spend on whatever. So
what does this mean for the future of Dedrone?
In what way? In that?
Well, I haven't heard from them for ages. Dedrone. I mean, what's going on? Have they dropped the ball? They were supposed to be the leading company for anti-drone solutions, but
they are perhaps so far ahead we cannot see them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a time machines. They don't make them like they're going to, and all those other things. It's yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think there was. I have had a couple of emails from them, but of course they don't really want to talk to me after you've insulted them so much, Bruce. Again. And right back saying all of the trade shows are a waste of money. Yeah, I think there's a great deal of truth to that. I suppose I only really enjoy going to Farnborough because it's Farnborough and it's something of my upbringing, I suppose. But yeah.
I'll be heading to the commercial UAV show hopefully again this year. I've gone every year in the last 3 years, and I can't say I've ever come away from it thinking, wow, that was great. It is interesting to see some stuff. I want to go and see the guys with the Mantis, not the Mantis, the what are they called? The UK guys who have been doing a lot this year. I forgot what they're called, with the big white long drone. No, you're looking at me as if I'm mad.
No. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. The thing that clashed with the police force in
yes,
whatever. Yeah, that one. Yeah, it's really made an impression on us, hasn't it, Ian? It's drilled right into our psyche. Its name, branding, and all that. You're right. It isn't a dedicated drone show. You're right back. You are right. You are right. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. They're from Hampshire as well, I think, aren't they? Or
they
no,
are. Yeah.
You know, games come from.
I've seen so much stuff this week. It's jumped out of my head. I'm looking on Twitter for it now. I'm trying to find it. But yeah, they've been doing a lot of stuff. And to be fair, they're building an interesting platform with this thing. They really are building quite an interesting product. So I want to go and have a chat with them, see that there. But the UK Commercial Drone Show is, again, very much services based. Everyone trying to sell you a service rather than trying to sell you an actual product.
It's not as UAV show. It's not the Skydio, although that new one should be coming out very soon.
Yeah.
And Andy Robinson says Eddie Mitchell. No, it's not. He's not. I don't think he's a multi-rotor. I don't think Eddie's a multi-rotor. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, down in his wood of the neck though. It's at that place where one of the Guildford or something like that. I think it is somewhere in that area where they're based. Have you found it yet, Ian?
No, I haven't. It's hiding from me. It's completely exited my brain.
I did hear that somebody hit a hotel in central London last weekend, but no one's putting their hands up to it. I don't know. Did you hear anything about that, Ian?
I've not heard that one. I heard whispers something happened, but not what it was. But no one's holding their hands up to it that I've seen.
Yes. I cannot get people to admit. I think I know who it was, but I think I know. But one cannot name names. And at the end of the day, who was killed and what really happened? It bounced off a hotel. Yeah, Louis. Yeah, let's just blame Louis. You're absolutely Orient. Yeah, but it's not you or I because we're not in Europe. So there we are. Brilliant. Let's find that other thing. I can't find that thing either now.
I'm going to find it now because I retweeted something on it just 2 days ago. It is the Evolve Dynamics Sky Mantis. Sorry, I just completely, yeah. So I'm interested in seeing that a bit closer this year. Because to be fair to them, they're building quite a base on that thing there. They're building it up quite wise.
And yeah, you're absolutely right, Andy. Eddie was the guy who had the policeman grabbed the transmitter and told him to land, and he was flying, and it was before the Gatwick incident happened. He was near Gatwick, wasn't he? In the old regime as well, I think, if memory serves me correctly, when you could be 4Ks away or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely. If somebody takes a transmitter from you, they're definitely then the captain, aren't they? I have control. It's definitely all of a sudden they're the commander. Yeah.
There's a switch for that on Autopilot. You just switch to brake mode, and then whatever you do on the sticks won't do a thing, and the drone then will fly itself.
I've got a brake mode, but it's completely different to that.
Yeah. I hit the switch mark G for gravity. Yeah, it always works.
Or then you can program a switch on your radio that will reverse all the commands, so that when the police tries to fly the drone will do right the opposite. Or switch on the Tyrannies, you can do a macro that will randomly change periodically the commands. So that would be funny.
It would be a lot of fun if a policeman took the transmitter from you to say, "You are now pilot in command. I am walking away," and just see what happens. And then when they crashed it, you go over and say, "Right, I am now going to sue the police for damaging my private property," and that would only happen a couple of times.
And by the way, you were in contravention of the ANO because you were not a PFCO. You were not flying with permission. You were not.
You didn't pass the test.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a list of things you didn't comply with for your very brief flight. Yes.
And then file a complaint with CAA.
Yeah. Again, it's a crazy idea. But then imagine the policeman thinking he could do that as well. It's just.
So let's ask Bruce. So Bruce, what's on your plans to burn this week?
How will you release the smoke?
Interestingly enough, the company that I reviewed that camera from have acknowledged it. It is a problem. It is a bug, finally, but only after I posted my video. 2 weeks ago, someone reported it, and they basically said, update the firmware. It's really hard to update the firmware when the camera won't power on. In fact, it's almost impossible to update the firmware when the camera won't power on. So, they ignored the problem for 2 weeks, and then I post my review after harassing them with multiple messages saying, please, can you tell me what's going on? Suddenly, within hours of my video hitting the internet, we've fixed that problem now, just update the firmware. And then I've posted again, how?
What's on your plate for this week, Bruce? Come on. It's Nicola's plane, and now we are just expecting for your what's the blue smoke for today?
But second, mate, you have to wait. You have to subscribe, and then you'll find out.
I've already subscribed, so come on.
Are you a Patreon supporter?
We had to go long enough for him to get that in. Yeah.
Have you tried my thing?
I bet they give out much nicer buttons.
Yes.
I couldn't believe you actually had to request it. I thought they just sent it to you. That's shocking.
No, because I got my first. I qualified for on XJet. I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even longer ago. I qualified, and I never heard from them. I don't care because I'm not really an awards person. I don't sort of, you see, those were already still in their boxes. I'm not going to stick them up on the wall. And so I thought, and then I found out that no, because there are so many now, they're not sending them out as a matter of normality, that you actually have to go and what's happening is some channels that have over 100,000 subs are being refused them. If you've got a copyright strike, if you've got a community guideline strike, you won't get it.
Well, that's me out then.
Yeah, that's me then.
90,000 views. 90,000 more subscribers.
I got a copyright strike for one of my own videos that someone else posted of mine, and then YouTube.
I've had that as well. Yeah.
Me too. The worst thing about it was someone posted one of my videos, and I filed a takedown. You go through and someone has re-uploaded one of my videos. They objected and said, "No, it's my video," even though it had my watermark on it, and they'd uploaded it like 6 months after I uploaded it. They said, "No, it's my video." And if I didn't withdraw my claim, I would have got a copyright strike for striking my own video on someone else's channel. I think, what the hell? And this is why one of the reasons I made the video I did about my awards and what a joke they are.
I don't bother. I've had exactly the same thing happen, and I don't bother contesting it anymore because it's more trouble than it's worth if it all goes horribly wrong. And you would think the algorithm could detect quite quickly where the real source is, based on many factors. But
upload date's a real simple one, isn't it? How could you be guilty of copying a video if your version was uploaded before the one that is complaining about? It's like, no.
That would be a simple little thing to check, wouldn't it?
Could even automate it. Maybe the AI is just super stupid.
Yeah, there's lots of crazy things about it. Anyway, with that, look, we're going into nonsense mode, and I have to go and fight the beasts.
You missed that mode. I'm sorry, I missed that bit.
Will you use a drone, Gary?
No, I've got sticks. I've got stuff I can chuck.
So come on, all technology.
What do we say? We're going to keep it simple.
Block.
We're going to keep it simple.
You need to film it with the drone, Gary. Film
Yes.
you fighting the creature with the drone. We want to see it on the show next week.
Don't you have one of those fancy drones that has infrared cameras and all that? You should have. Come on, Gary.
I should, but the thing is, could I be asked?
Imagine the number of views and the number of YouTube plays you would get if you start putting your videos of infrared wrestling lions and cheetahs and leopards. Come on.
Well, a lot of people we don't. There's Serval and Genets. They're quite big cats, and a lot of people say, "Whoa, there's a leopard," but we don't. When I did some research with a drone with a researcher who went around farms and trying to prove that there were leopards, and he didn't think there were leopards here, and the number of farmers that convinced they got them, but they're quite big things, and it could be one of them landing. Sometimes they go past on the roof. I've said it before. We've got. In fact, it might be what it is because we've got some doves just come in the end of the roof over here, and they jump on the roof. You hear the cats come up, then you hear a little bit of commotion, and then we don't have no doves no more. So it could be that again.
Do you have Jags? Oh, that's South America, is it? Jaguars.
South America, yeah. Well, that would be a leopard.
Okay, guys. So let's devise a smart system for Gary. We need
a stick.
No, we need infrared detection drone that will take off automatically as soon as it's a camera recognition system detects a leopard. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. The platform will be self-charging.
But what I need
the platform will be self-charging. We'll have precision landing.
Yes.
What else?
Yes.
Anything else?
Well, obviously, we've got artificial intelligence and blockchain. You can't possibly fly without that.
Get a camera with movement detection, and then if it does a motion, you'll have a picture of it.
Well, I want one just to get photos of the various things that go through the garden. But obviously, Louis, I mean, if you'd like to move this proposal forward, then we'll need some VC funding, and I would like to see several renderings because obviously nothing's going to happen without.
I think we have Bruce's cat.
Yeah, cryptocurrency will pay with that.
No, we have Bruce. No. Bruce
Somebody moved $1 billion in Bitcoin this week. $1 billion in Bitcoin. That's probably 2 Bitcoin now, isn't it? But they did.
They moved it. That's a lot of
moved it from someone's wallet to someone else's wallet. So that's a huge amount of money. They reckon.
How heavy was it?
I don't know.
Imagine putting 100. Imagine having put just 100 quid on it at the start. Wouldn't have been bad, would it?
I still get them ringing me up saying, "Oh, you invest in Bitcoin futures. You can make a fortune." And I said, "Have you watched Bitcoin since last December?"
It's bounced
back to $9,000 a coin, I think now. It's actually come up with it.
Yeah, it's bounced back a little bit. We'll all need it in our survivalist world. But speaking of that, I must go outside and battle the beast. And that's not a euphemism.
That's not a whole different tune.
You get one of these. You have one of these. You have one of these. You have one of those
I
ad
do.
straps.
Oh,
One
Gareth,
ad strap. We want to see the. Oh, come on, post it. Post the
Yeah,
video.
and when it's my last days, you can all just put wonderful sort of comments on there, and then for Sarah and the boys, perhaps if it goes viral, there'll be $49 in YouTube revenue out of that one.
You can't
Yeah.
put blood on there, you get demonetized. It goes viral, you get millions of views, and YouTube says, "Nah, sorry, but there's blood on that. You can't have that money."
You're absolutely
Now,
right.
you won't see blood because it's an infrared camera, so it's all black.
Zombie
Yes.
blood.
Yes, yes. Well, either way, I better go. So, dear viewers, thank you very much. Join us again at 2100 GMT next week when we will moan about the modern world. We will talk about Gatwick again and no doubt mention Bitcoin. Thanks very much. Have a lovely, safe week the rest of the week, everyone. And if you're flying on the weekend, have fun, don't crash. See you next Tuesday. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Thanks, chaps. Bye.
Bonsoir.
Oh, now this is the extra button I've got to find.